Hey guys, my name is Haley and today I'm going to be filming what I'm going to be calling my first half of February wrap-up because most of it is from TBR Takedown, but I didn't want to just talk about the TBR Takedown books because there's a first book in a series and I didn't want to wait till my other wrap-up to do it, and this is how it made sense in my head, so I'm going to do my wrap-up for the first 2 weeks of February, so let's get started. So the first book that I picked up in the month of February was Legend by Marie Lu, and I was really excited to get into the series because I know a lot of people love it, and I've heard really good things about Marie Lu's writing, which I do think she has good writing. It's very addictive and very easy to read, but I didn't really love this book. I think I gave it 3.5 stars because the insta-love in this was just a little too cringeworthy for me. It was super insta-lovey, but I did end up getting used to it by the end, and it was still very fast-paced. So this was just a 3.5 stars. The second book that I finished was 23 Minutes in Hell by Bill Wise. This is the story of a man who was a Christian who found himself in the middle of the night in hell, but he thought he was dreaming, but he knew it was more of a vision than a dream, and it's him telling his story of the 23 minutes that he spent in hell that God revealed unto him so that he would go back into his real life to preach the importance of believing in hell, because he believes that there are Christians that don't even believe in a literal hell. And it was just very disturbing. It's very convicting if you are a Christian, and even if you're not, it probably still is. I liked the first part of this where he was actually describing his experience in hell. After that, it got kind of repetitive of him trying to prove that he's not crazy almost, which I understand because a lot of people wouldn't believe this kind of story. Maybe if you at least believe in heaven and hell, because if you don't believe in it, you're not going to believe this guy's story. I can almost guarantee it. But if you are Christian and you do believe in a literal hell and you just kind of want to learn more about it and have that conviction, then I would recommend this. I gave it 3 stars, I believe. And then we move on to TBR Takedown. The first book that I finished for that was Prodigy by Marie Lu. This was a million times better than the first book. The plot of this was crazy. It was like a roller coaster up and down plot of plot twist after plot twist, and it was just, I loved this one. I gave this 4.5 stars. I loved everything that happened. I even loved June more in this one. I wasn't crazy about her in the first one. Day even flip-flopped back and forth of when I was annoyed with him, and it was a roller coaster of emotions, and I loved it. To be completely honest, I loved it. The second book that I finished for TBR Takedown was The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. This book is very true. If you are in a relationship, I would highly recommend it. If you're married and you're having issues, I would definitely recommend it. But as a single person who already knew the concept of the 5 love languages and what they were and which love language I was before even taking the test, this was kind of redundant to me almost, and I think I gave it 3 stars because it's very true that everybody does fall under one of the categories or multiple categories of the love languages, but I don't know, it was just information that I already knew. And I knew that going in, so I don't know why I didn't expect it, but I ended up giving it 3 stars. Would recommend if you're interested and have never heard of the different types of love languages, but if you do already know it, I think the little descriptions of each love language kind of does a good job of explaining it when you take the test. Next up for TBR Takedown, I read Champion. This book was crazy. I think I gave it a slightly lower rating than Prodigy because Prodigy was my favorite of the trilogy, but I did really enjoy this. I liked the way it wrapped up. I really was interested in the concept of the government that controls Antarctica in this world. Oh, I forgot to mention, the reason I loved Prodigy so much is that so much more of the world was explained, which was the big issue that I had in the first book, is that I didn't understand why there was a war going on in the US or what happened to the coastlines and all of that jazz, but it's very much explained in the second one. And in this one, we actually get to travel to another part of the world, and there's 2 different armies involved. I just found the point system of Antarctica, without giving away any spoilers, super interesting, and I've never seen that type of government set up in a dystopian before, so I thought it was very unique, and I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people have problems with this third one, and I've never listened to any of the looked at any reviews or heard any that spoke about the issues that people have with this, so I'm kind of intrigued because I didn't really see anything that really bothered me that much, but yeah, I was expecting this to go a different way, and it did end differently than I thought it was going to, so that might be it, but I really enjoyed it. This was a very fun trilogy, and I want to pick up more by Marie Lu, but I'm really not all that interested in her Young Elites trilogy, so I think I'm just gonna wait for her to come out with something else. This even had an excerpt from the Young Elites, and I just didn't like Adelina, so yeah, I don't think I'm gonna end up reading that trilogy. And this is where I veered off from my TBR, and I randomly picked up The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I'd said I might read one of my classics. This was one of the shortest classics that I had, and I was curious because I never had to read this for school. And I'm really happy that I never had to read it for school because I kind of hated it. I know now why people really don't like Holden Caulfield as a character, because he's very whiny. He's very like teenage boy issues, and I hate reading from teenage boys' perspectives most of the time, so I wasn't all that surprised why I didn't like him. But he was like even extra whiny. Really nothing happens in this book except that he's like escaping from his life. The only thing that I liked about this was his little sister, which is why I gave it 2 stars and not 1, but yeah. Happy I read it. Now I know. I might get rid of it, I don't know yet. And then lastly, it was the last day of TBR Takedown, and I was like, I still need to read a first book in a series. So I picked up Hawkeye, My Life as a Weapon, which is the first volume in this, I don't know if it's a reboot or if it's just a new thing of Hawkeye, but I really liked this, and it would have been 5 stars if it wasn't for the last story in here. So like the first couple are very like nice artwork, like pretty and everything, and then you get to the last one in here and the artwork completely changes, and like just the tone of the story really changes, and I didn't really like that last one very much, so I did give it 4 stars. But I love Hawkeye as a character, and his banter with Kate Bishop was so funny. I literally laughed out loud a bunch of times at their banter and things that he said, or like the way that the little speech bubbles would come up and it would be like blah 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 something in Russian and like just stupid things like that. So I do understand why people like Matt Fraction as like a graphic novelist, because it was very entertaining, and I gave it 4 stars. I am planning on continuing the series, but I'm hoping that the rest of the series is going to be more like the first couple volumes in this and not the last one, because I really didn't like that one that much. So there you have it. Those are the first 7? Yes, the first 7 books that I read in the month of February. Thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time.